Hi guys, good evening. Welcome to today's price action analysis video. This is the 18th of April and we will be analyzing Nifty and Bank Nifty on the 5-minute time frame. So let's see how Bank Nifty did today. Bank Nifty opened and traded for the most part above today's CPR. So if you consider the two-day relationship, we had seen yesterday itself that the two-day relationship was higher, which means that we had a higher value CPR today. You can see this is the CPR for today, this is the CPR for yesterday, and since we had a very wide CPR yesterday, we had a fairly narrow CPR today. And usually those of you who do use CPR in their trading would know by now that CPR indicates, the width of the CPR indicates quite a few things to us. One of them is that a very wide CPR, which is this wide, say, and a CPR which is this wide or this narrow, I should say. The narrower the CPR, it indicates a trending day in the market. And this trending day might be one side like this, or it could be up and down, or it could be down and a recovery upwards, or it could be downward trend also. It doesn't have to be a trend in the single direction. And this type of a market will usually indicate a range bound or a sideways day. So this type of a CPR, a wide CPR here, would indicate a range bound or a sideways market. And we had a narrow CPR today, but you can see how it doesn't always work. Obviously, like everything else, CPR works say 70-80% of the times. That's also enough. But what we saw today morning was that Bank Nifty opened very strongly above the CPR, and you can see how it was making wicks on the bottom. Bank Nifty really looked strong today, and Nifty looked equally weak today. And Bank Nifty for the most part has traded above today's CPR. You can see this, and it did go below the CPR just because of, this selling just came because of Nifty, and otherwise the banking stocks did really well. And here Bank Nifty went down below the CPR, went down for a while, then again made these wicks on the bottom, showed nice support and came back up again. You can see here that if I turn on the Cambrilla pivots for today, which are the L1 L2 level pivots, you can see here that Bank Nifty took support exactly at the L2 pivot. And usually what happens is when the CPR is very narrow and we have a very wide distance between the H3 and the L3 Cambrilla level, you will be able to see some reversal or find some reversal trades at the L2 or H2 or H1 L1 levels. Now H1 L1 are usually very close by. You can see that H1 the L1 level was right here, so not exactly the L1, but you can see how the price took support at the L2, then went up, spent time around the CPR again, and basically closed right above the CPR. So it has closed positive today again. So Bank Nifty does give us a bullish bias for tomorrow, and for the most part it traded between H3 and CPR today. But one thing was for sure, that if you had any open trade, you were not to go upwards towards the H3 pivot. Not to keep any trade open upwards of the H3 pivot today. Why? Because in spite of a narrow CPR, we had seen a trend in the market yesterday. So an upward trend again today, especially when Bank Nifty was trading above the CPR and above the previous day high, was going to be unlikely today. So that is why once you see a trending day in the market, you should not expect another trending day back to back, in spite of the fact that we had a narrow CPR today. Now you can see in Nifty that Nifty had opened above today's CPR, but the CPR itself was below the previous day's CPR. And I have been telling you that in spite of the fact that we have a lower value relationship in CPR today, the fact that Nifty opened above the H3 pivot today places our bias or our outlook towards the bullish side. Why? We can have a bullish bias today. Why is that? Because the overall trend of the market is upwards. And now for that, I will just take you to the 1-day time frame, and I will show you the 1-day time frame here. See, this is the overall trend of the market, which is upwards, and we are seeing some sort of price correction here, because obviously that correction is overdue now. You can see here that 16,800 to 17,800, 1,000-point rally without any breather is going to be indicative of a particular rest by the market. The market will rest for a while, it will take a breather, it will take a gap, and then it will continue its journey upwards. So expect Nifty to trade sideways for a few days now, because we've seen a massive run of 1,000 points in Nifty already. and now 18,000 level is it kind of took resistance at the 17,800 level, which was very close to 18,000. So 18,000 is anyway a strong resistance for price. So now going back to the particular 5-minute intraday time frame, what was important today? You can I know many of you would be confused about the bias today. Now today the bias was obviously confusing. I had said that in previous video also, that is yesterday's video, that the previous to previous day we had the same initial bias. That is, for the 17th we had the same initial bias for Nifty and Bank Nifty. It was just that the question was whether Nifty would open below it or above it, and Nifty opened below it. So Nifty rejected the bias, but Bank Nifty had accepted the bias. Now today the difference was that the initial bias itself was opposite. You can see here today's CPR was higher value in Bank Nifty and today's CPR was lower value in Nifty. That was not the case on the 17th, but today we had the case of having a completely opposite bias, the initial bias itself being opposite. Now that is a difficult scenario. I had said that in yesterday's video also, because one of them will accept it and the other will reject it for sure. And there would be a situation also where both of them accept it. How would have Nifty accepted the bias? Had Nifty opened flat, it would have opened below the top central, right? So then it would have accepted the bearish bias. Why would you have a bearish bias? Because it was a lower value CPR. So on the 18th you carried a bearish bias, and Nifty opening flat would mean it would open below the CPR, that is the top central of the CPR, which would mean it would accept the bias. And had Bank Nifty also opened below the TC here, then it would have rejected the bias also, which means that here it would have rejected the bias, but had Bank Nifty opened flat here above the BC, it would have accepted the bias as well. So Bank Nifty would have accepted a bullish bias and Nifty would have accepted a bearish bias. That would have been completely difficult to trade then. But today what happened was Bank Nifty accepted the bias and Nifty rejected the bias because it opened above today's CPR. So what outlook did you have initially? It was a bullish outlook, and it was confirmed by Bank Nifty and Nifty, because Nifty simply rejected it. Had Nifty opened somewhere here, then the open here would suggest that Nifty is accepting the bearish bias, but the buyers did open the price higher, correct? So it wasn't very confusing as such today. But then what was your game plan today? You can see here that I have the L1 L2 active today on Nifty chart. Why is that? Because one thing I have not explained in any video yet is that if H3 and L3 are very far apart, then if you have had a very long ranging day yesterday, so this was a ranging day, right? It actually traded like this downward. It had a trend to the downside and then it had a trend to the upside. So this did trade in a particular range, but still it was trending within that range. Then when the CPR is narrow today and price action looks to open within the previous day's range, as you can see the day high was here. This was the previous day high and today's day high is here. So it is opened within the previous day's range. This is the PDL. So when this happens, what will happen is that the price will usually tend to give a lot of reactions in terms of the volatility. So you can see how volatile the price was today. It was trading within the previous day's range, could not break out of its range at all. So for the most part it will trade within the previous day's range, or most likely it will trade within the previous day's range for the entirety of the trading session today from 9:15 to 3:30. So now Nifty, after it opened above the CPR, what happened here? It went for a tumbling fall initially, and the tumble was right since the start. Bank Nifty was holding, but Nifty was tumbling down, and it saw some reaction around the L1, but it actually broke right through the L1, and then it came and rested at the L2. And you can see that the L2 pivot provided a very nice support for price initially. And then what happened here at L2 pivot? Let me just zoom it up a little bit. So if your initial bias is rejected, which was bearish in Nifty, but the overall trend is bullish, Bank Nifty is also bullish, and Nifty has rejected a bearish bias, which means that which direction should you go for? You should go for the bullish direction. So you should choose trades in the bullish direction. It doesn't matter what happens, you have to stick to the rule. The rule is simple. It does not matter what you think, the rule is simple. you have to follow a rule, a strict rule in the market. It does not matter if your system triggers a trade, that is it. If your system has triggered a particular trade, that is it. And so according to this, I knew that when there is a big difference, a distance between the H2 and L2, I should have my H1 and big difference between the H3 and L3. I should have my H1 and L1, rather the L1 and L2 pivot, since I was looking only for an upside trade. So H1 and H2 did not matter, because H1, H2 are reversal levels, which are resistance levels. So these are resistance levels. These are H2 and this is H1. But these are resistance level, but L1 and L2 are support levels. So I knew that whenever price came down to either L1, L2 or L3, I was going to find reversal trades at that particular level. And so accordingly, I got my signal according to my system here at this point, which gave me a very good morning star pattern. And this is my favorite pattern because Nifty, Bank Nifty keep making them. And at 10:25 a.m. actually I had got that pattern, but there was some issue due to which I could not initiate my order here. Actually, it was not a technical issue. It was something going on around me. That was why I could not actually initiate that order there. And that is why that is why I actually waited for price to give me some sort of volatility, and it waited for price to give me some sort of correction, by means of which I could at least enter the trade. Now what I had seen was this candle had closed around 56 rupees. So I wanted a price close to 56 rupees to write an option. Now you know that I am an option writer. I'm a directional option writer. And 56 rupee, if the price is at 56 rupees here, it means that there are sellers selling the puts at 56 rupees, and I'm talking about the 17650 put. You can check it on the chart. I'm talking about the 17650 put. All right, it was trading somewhere around 56 to 57 rupees here at this point when this particular candle closed. And at 10:25 a.m. the candle closed at 10:30, and that was the price at which it closed on the options chart. So I needed some price very close to 56 to 57 rupees, but I was not getting it because the price had actually shot up and was trading above that level. But then thankfully the price actually tended to correct down a little bit, and then you can see that around 11:47 a.m., which was this red candle which showed a nice correction, I went in for a trade and I got a price of 52.35 rupees. So I thought that yes, okay, 52 is at least close by to 56 rupees. So I'm not losing much in terms of premium. So I went in for a long opportunity at 52.35 and I wrote the 17650 option PE. And then the price actually showed a nice move. Why did I close the trade exactly at 30 rupees? You can see that on the options chart, it did not go any less than 29 rupees. You can go and check the chart at 1 o'clock, 101. So it was exactly, you can see this candle here. This was 1 o'clock candle, and when this candle actually touched the, or went very close to, almost touched the bottom central pivot here, I had closed the trade at 30 rupees, and the price actually reversed from 29 point few odd rupees there. So I had actually closed at the very peak. So I entered around this level when price was somewhere here at the very bottom, and I closed my trade here when my stop loss was somewhere here. So this was my stop and this was my take profit. Let me take you to Bank Nifty and I'll show you why I closed it. I closed it because you can see at the 1 o'clock candle, you can see this candle, this was 1 p.m. and you can see how Bank Nifty was going very close to the H3 pivot. Now one thing was for sure, if I was long from L3 or from L2 in Bank Nifty, had Bank Nifty showed a fall early in the day, then what I would have done is I would have taken an entry at either the L2 or the L3 pivot and I would have gone long, but my target would have been the H3. So if I'm long in Nifty and if I am going to trade looking at both Nifty and Bank Nifty, then I'm very sure that I want to close the trade at the H3 pivot itself, because H3 is a strong resistance. And I knew that I would see some selling from that side, from that point onwards. So once Bank Nifty came, I had decided to, came to H3, I had decided to close my trade. And you can see that exactly at 1:01 p.m. price actually almost touched the CPR here, and then it gave a huge fall. Nifty was anyway looking fragile, and then you can see this fall again, and it gave a nice recovery afterwards. That recovery came from Bank Nifty's side because Bank Nifty had hit the L2 pivot, the Cambrilla level, and also the fact that I knew that this was the previous day's, sorry, the first candle's low. So if this is the first candle's low, which makes it the swing low for the as far as the day is concerned, and that was broken by this particular candle. Then a pullback to 50% level, which this was the 50% pullback, right? This was the line of 50% almost. So 50% pullback to that level, to that breakout candle, is a very strong area where the price might look to react again, because this was the breakout line as well as the 50% of the breakout candle. And that is why I decided to close my trade at that level, because I knew that once price came to 50% of the breakout candle, it would again have a second round of selling from there. But my system had told me that I had to go long, so I went long at this particular formation, just that I could not enter early, so I went back and traded. Luckily I got the price here, and that is why I traded at this level. And since you know I'm an option writer, I had written the puts. And that is my logic behind today's trade. So let's go and check what sort of levels we have today that we can mark for tomorrow. So let me turn on the CPR. Let's analyze the CPR first in Nifty. Okay, so CPR on the third day, rather on the second day in a row, we have a descending CPR, and price has closed again below the previous day's CPR. So again tomorrow we have a price action which shows us that our bias is going to be bearish in Nifty. So we are looking for short trades tomorrow in Nifty, depending on what the open of Nifty is. If the open is somewhere below, anywhere below the top central, we will be looking to close the trade around that area. And let's see what the H3 L3 tell us. Where was the H3 today? Say this was the H3, and we have the H3 L3 here. Sorry, this is the H3 L3 here. Okay, so we have a lower value H3 L3 as well for tomorrow's price action. So as long as the price opens anywhere below the top central, which is this area, anywhere below this area, and we will have a confirmed bearish bias in Nifty. And where will be the best way, what will be the best way to trade here? The best way to trade here would be around the H3 level. If price were to open like this and go through the CPR and hit the H3 level here, then you can find some reversal patterns at this area and short. Don't worry about the price going up, because we are going to see a fall tomorrow if Nifty opens with a bearish bias. You can go ahead with a bearish bias tomorrow as long as the open is below the top central. Okay, this is the top central pivot, right? And also if Bank Nifty rejects its bias, because I will tell you why I need Bank Nifty to reject its bias when we see the Bank Nifty chart. But right now I'm telling you that you should have a bearish market or a bearish vision towards the market tomorrow, and look for bearish trades around H3 tomorrow. If price does reverse back to H3, then that will be a seller's area, because we also have a very strong supply zone at that area from today's price action. That is why I'm telling you that it will be a smart idea to sell at H3 tomorrow. And now we can go to Bank Nifty, and yes, if Nifty rejects its bias, if Nifty opens anywhere above the top central, above the CPR, that would mean that the bias is rejected, because the open will be above the TC, right? So if the open is above the TC, that means that that Nifty has rejected its own bias. So now it's going to be then it would be difficult to understand where to trade. Then it all depends on whether price opens above the H3. If it actually opens above the H3, then any pullback to the H3 level should be a buying opportunity. And if you see that there is a particular green candle here, right? So since the open is below the top central, your bias should, by your system, it should still be bearish, even if it's a green candle. So you might want to wait for the CPR to be broken, and maybe you want to take a short trade towards the L3. This is the L3. That is what the system is telling you. So you have to follow rules. Don't forget that you have to follow the rules. Okay, now looking at Bank Nifty, if we turn on tomorrow's CPR, what do we have here? We can see in Bank Nifty that we have a higher value CPR, and that is why I was telling you that I would like to see how Bank Nifty reacts tomorrow or opens tomorrow at the open. So you can see that these are the H3 L3 levels, and these are the H3 L3 levels for tomorrow. And you can see how the price has actually shown us some sort of a lot of strength in Bank Nifty today. That's why the H3 and L3 levels are elevated, but they are inside value. Okay, so the L3 is elevated above the L3, but these are inside value. So what does that mean? That the entire, let me just mark it in a box and I will explain to you, the entire H3L3 for tomorrow, Cambrilla for tomorrow is engulfed within within today's Cambrilla levels. And that is why you should be very focused on the fact that you will be able to trade on the H3L3 tomorrow based on the price action and the strength of the price action. So if you see strength in Bank Nifty, and if you see an open above the H3 pivot, which is this level here, or an open above the H4 level like this, then you might want to check for a reversal at the H4 or a reversal at the H3 depending on where it opens, and then you might want to trade a reversal pattern to the upside. So Bank Nifty, the bias still stays upside. So don't forget that Bank Nifty's bias is still upside, and then you have a good demand zone in this area also. This is all a strong demand zone wherever there is the exactly at the level of the L3. This is L3, this is L4. So you can see these levels, color coded levels here. This is red, green, and this is green, and this is red on the top. So you can actually look to buy in Bank Nifty if you see that there is a strong candle opening above the CPR. But now if Bank Nifty opens tomorrow below the CPR or it opens flat here, that means that you have a rejection of bias. Now it is going to be difficult, because unless Nifty also opens below its CPR and you have a rejection in Nifty also, you will not be looking for bearish trades tomorrow, since we already have an inside Cambrilla as well as an elevated CPR or a higher value CPR in Bank Nifty. Okay, so it is understandably a little bit confusing if you are not experienced enough, but you need to be able to handle the trades. For that, obviously you need experience, but you will start getting a hang of it. And if at all you're just starting to trade with Cambrilla, then forget it. Trade only with the H3 L3 levels. Don't trade with the H1 H2 levels and L1 L2 levels. Trade with H3 L3 and trade only on those days when you are when you have a sure upside or a sure downside bias in both Nifty and Bank Nifty. And whenever you have such conflicting biases, forget about trading on those days at all, completely. Because the days on which the bias is accepted, you will make enough amounts of money, and such days will keep coming in the market. Don't worry about that. So don't suffer from FOMO. Within a month, you will get ample number of days where your bias will be accepted and both of them will be showing the same bias. So if Bank Nifty were to accept the bias, your bias tomorrow will be bullish. If it rejects it, then you might want to trade for a rejection trade at the H3, which is a negative trade at the H3. But then I will be much happier trading in Nifty tomorrow. As I told you, Nifty's level, this supply zone is where I will be interested in trading. So what is the level there? It is around 17,700. So it will be an important area for me, 17,700, which is this area. And this is the zone where I will be looking to sell Nifty, exactly this zone. And within those 10 points, I will be happy selling Nifty tomorrow if price action does accept my bias, my initial bias, which is bearish in Nifty. If you have any queries, then drop them in the comment section below and I will be happy to answer them. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you're notified every time I post a new video. Also guys, I do not show my quantity at all because my intention is not to run any webinars, so I don't need to show any of my profits to any of you. Even if you apply yourself and apply only 50% of the system that I tend to show you, then even then with good money management skills and with very good risk reward and very good psychology, you can definitely make it big in the market. I never show quantity because there is no show off on this channel and there is no reason for me to do it, since I don't have to sell you any courses. And I do not intend to show any of my viewers my quantity because that is not the intention with which I started the channel. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye bye.